For the first time in more than 2 years, the optimism from CFOs about the U.S. economy has increased. Baruch College released the results for its second quarter CFO Outlook survey today. Here to tell us more about the survey results is Baruch College's John Elliott. He is Dean of the Zicklin School of Business. Dean, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Mark. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. What did the CFOs have to say?
Well, I'd like to call it cautious optimism, but I think it's probably safer to say that it's moderating pessimism. So their rating of the U.S. economy's prospects is up slightly for the first time in 2 years, but it's still at a fairly low 41 on a scale of 100.
What's giving them the sense of optimism?
Well, it's unclear. There's a little bit of evidence that the debt markets are slightly more accommodating, although they're not overly enthusiastic. When they talk about their own company's prospects, we ask them 12 months from now, what do you think will have happened to tech spending? They think it'll be up about 2%. That's a small sign of optimism. When we ask about their prices, they think they'll be basically flat, not down. So that's a small sign of optimism. And relative to things like tech spending, capital spending, and inventory building, they basically think that they're going to continue to go down, but not nearly so sharply as they said 1 quarter ago.
I was intrigued because the survey also showed that the CFOs see some possibility for increased M&A activity going forward as well.
And they haven't been responding at all favorably there.
Right.
They're saying, a few of them, a third perhaps, a quarter perhaps, are saying we see possibilities for us to be acquisitive, but also possibilities that we might be an attractive target.
And we shouldn't diminish the importance of that. These are the chief financial officers. These are the guys and the ladies who have their fingers solidly on the purse strings, and they know what companies can and cannot do.
Absolutely right.
Talk to me then about the difficulties that they're seeing in lending and credit. It seems that there's the flip side of that two-edged coin. We could see some growth. You mentioned a 2% figure. We could see some M&A, but then lending and credit, that's still tightening up.
Well, what they're saying is that they still see interest rates to be a challenge. They still see availability of capital to be a challenge. And they're still seeing covenants that are more restrictive by far than they were 9 months and 12 months ago.
Did they see that thawing out at all?
It's a mixed bag. Some are on one side, some on the other side of that. I think that the group that thinks it might be improving is getting a little bit larger, but it's still far from the majority.
Okay, let's talk politics. Let's go to Washington. The president is starting to gain their confidence. Maybe it just took a little while because he's only been in office since January, but they're starting to sense that maybe things are going in the right direction. They want to give him the benefit of the doubt here?
I think that's fair to say. If you recall, when we asked these CFOs what they thought back before the election, they were not big fans of Obama and his candidacy.
And why was that?
Well, they didn't believe
too much big government.
They didn't believe that the government would be good for their companies and the economy.
And that has turned around because
it's changing. It's gotten better. I think that partly they're seeing the efforts the government has made are making a difference, beginning to make a difference. And that's the green shoot idea, beginning to make a difference in credit markets, beginning to make a difference in regulation.
Okay, now here's something that's right up our alley here on Bloomberg News. They were also asked to rate some of the performances, and one of the people they rated was Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner. How did he fare?
He did not fare well. I'm an academic. We give people grades. These CFOs, in general, 73% gave him a C or worse. That's not very impressive.
You sound surprised, or am I reading something else into it?
Let's just say I'm disappointed that the acceptance and support for the activities is as low as it was. Polson, on the other hand, near the end of his time, he was getting 55% B's and A's. So contrast those two realities.
Is this partly because Secretary Geithner is a work in progress, or is it because some CFOs don't think that change is happening fast enough?
I think both. It's not happening fast enough. It's still in progress, and the end point is still not certain.
Did they have any ratings on any other officials?
Those were the only ones we asked. We ask those questions infrequently. So we'll come back with some more questions like that in subsequent surveys.
Let's talk about the prospects for college grads and for the paid summer interns. Given this economic climate, unfortunately, the stories that we have been hearing, it's going to be slim pickings this year. Companies just do not have money, and small companies in particular, upstart entrepreneurs, they just don't have the funds.
Well, you're exactly right. That group, recent graduates and students in school looking for internships, are facing a very hard spring, a very hard summer. 40% of these companies don't hire new graduates or interns at all. Among those who do, 2/3 are hiring fewer full-time recent grads, fewer interns.
A lot of, I guess, a lot of contractors, a lot of part-time work. You can hire somebody part-time because you want the experience. Right. You'd like to give a young man or a young woman a leg up, but to keep your company solvent in these times, you need experienced people, and unfortunately, there's a lot of them out there.
That's exactly right. And at Baruch, we certainly see more of our students being given the opportunity for an unpaid internship rather than a paid internship. And that's a very big difference.
Yeah, it is. When I was in college in Pittsburgh, my dean said, if you can get paid, get paid.
That's right.
Dean Elliott, good to see you again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mark.
John Elliott of Baruch College.